Hey everyone, it's Nicholas, Sparkles of Gold. I have a little special video today with a special guest, Narayana Montúfar. Hello.
Hey, hi friend, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Things are interesting these days with transits, as you know, being an astrologer. I always, for people who watch my channel, I always like to do different things. I'm going to start to do different types of videos, and this is one of them. Nariana, you and I have known each other as colleagues, as astrologers, 10 years? I can't remember. We met at a Northwest Astrological conference, yes?
We did. I also don't remember, but yes, you were helping me recruit astrologers.
Yeah, that's right. I was. We had a conversation, and I think, yeah, it was a very scorpionic conversation. Now that I remember, but that's how we started to talk, and over the years, we've always kept in touch, so on and so forth. And we were talking recently, and you're like, Nicholas, this is something's happening. I am publishing a book, and I was like, really? And so this video is about this upcoming book that you have coming in, but some of the subject matter that's involved in the book, which is really cool and accessible. So, but by the way, what is the name of the book here that you're publishing? And
Yeah, here I'll just show you the
oh,
cover. It's written in your stars. Use your Saturn return, Pluto square, and other planetary cycles to become your best self. So,
hmm
yeah.
I love the artwork, by the way.
Yeah, it's I approved of it. I it's like my style. The all the all the illustrations are, I gotta say, they're very pretty. They're
Yeah, no, it's beautiful from what I saw. It's interesting here because if just from one of the pages you showed there, we're talking about like planetary cycles. And it's interesting in many levels of astrology. If I think about the certain planetary cycles that are the most common, if someone doesn't really know astrology, you're the person who's been involved in it for a long time, there's several cycles that do come up. Uh, there's the shorter, very short cycles of Mercury retrograde. That's like one of the biggest most popular things. But I think the one after that I would say was a Saturn return. I think that is pretty much what is brought up or what people know or what they've come to know recently with the explosion, the popularity of astrology, right? And that's a major cycle within itself, broken down in certain, I would say, increments or chapters. That is something in your book here. This is an example of a planetary cycle, yes?
absolutely. Because you have like pop stars and singers talking about their Saturn return and all of that. Saturn, the return is really well known. But what I want to really help people with this book, I designed it to be a companion. Um, for example, you might realize what happened in your Saturn return and you might just separate it alone as a story. But in this book, I bring the entire cycle to you. So you notice that this cycle is actually every 7 years, right? Like there are 7 years increments, like the 7 year itch. So many relationships end at, like, for example, 7, 14,
Mhm.
and so you can start forming a relationship with that cycle, or you become aware of the relationship that you already have with that planet, first of all, and the cycle of that planet. And this goes for so many other planetary cycles. And I included the inner planets as well
Ah.
because I think they weren't going to be involved, but then I realized how important it is to know your Mars return or your Venus return or
Mhm.
your Mercury return. And so I really wanted to bring, I'm kind of obsessed with the circle. I'm really into sacred geometry and all of that. And what I really wanted to help people is understand the circular motion of the planets, right? So, for example, I created illustrations that would help people understand how that works.
Yes, like at the top there, you can push it closer to the camera if you want. At the top there, yeah, I see it. You not only are naming it and then the age, the part of one's life, but you also have the glyphs and the aspects there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like so people can start wrapping their mind around the orbit and how this is timely and how it is predictable and that it was written in your stars already when it was going to happen. So it's like I designed this book because it's what I wanted to have when I started studying astrology, and even practicing astrology. I realized I didn't have anything approachable to look into whenever a client came through, and I would just look at their age and figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on. There are progressions and there are transits and there are solar arc charts, and it's like I just did it right now. I have a reading after this. I see how old is my client. I looked at the timeline. Oh, they're about to go through their Saturn return 2026, 2027, and they're about to experience their reverse nodal return.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but yeah, my idea was to create this connection with the cycles and how they are a story, right? It is not just like, oh, I had my Saturn return and that's over.
Yeah.
No, like in 7 years, you had there comes the sextile and then all of this, right? But so you can start forming this timeline of your life that can help you not only to be your best self, but to also go back in time because I just did that like for an article last year where like an editor, I'm a writer, so an editor assigned me my Saturn return story. And I went back and it was such an amazing time. It was such an amazing practice to do it because I had downplayed it a little bit in my
Hmm.
mind. I was like, oh, I have a good Saturn because it's in Virgo, it's trying my midheaven. So it wasn't that bad. And the reality is that it was pretty significant. And so that helped me appreciate Saturn because, Saturn has a bad rap.
Yeah, it's got some of the worst rats, but it's interesting because it's the planet in my practice that I end up working with the most with clients. And I just naturally, organically, clients come to me, and it's typically a Saturn story. And it's for some who might look at their chart and see Saturn like some certain aspect, like Saturn's on their Venus or something like that. But most of the time, people don't know like the phase, the part of the Saturn story that they're really in. And that is something I like to incorporate with my clients. And it's like clockwork. So yeah, I noticed, when you pulled up the book and when you're talking about this book, it makes it clear what part of the story that you're in or part of the cycle that you're in. And I think it's interesting something you said too, like I went back in the past and it pretty much, if someone asked me, like, what do you do as an astrologer? I mean, what it is, we're really going back constantly. You're
Oh yeah.
constantly going back into the past and calendar, and you're making connections and you're finding understanding to help you with the present time and for what is ahead. So, I mean, that's pretty much what we do. We're dealing with cycles, all different levels and kinds of cycles too. So, um, I just think it's interesting what you're saying on yourself with this.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious. I'm curious. So I'm going to pretend.
Okay.
I'm going to
Mhm.
pretend that I know a little bit about astrology, that I have some apps on my phones. I definitely know my chart and my big three. Okay. And that some of that, and then some of what I read on social media and some YouTubers I follow, and that's kind of my level of astrology. Okay. And then right now, I'm just going to come up with an age.
Okay.
Gonna say a certain age. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I am 36. I am 36 years old, right?
Okay.
And I go to your book and I open your book, right?
Hmm.
And I can find out in kind of my age range what is happening, like what type of particular cycle. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I'm still gonna pretend like I don't know anything here. So,
Yeah, for sure. Please do. Can
yes.
you do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I do this every day of my life by myself. I always pretend I don't know anything. It humbles me.
Right.
Yeah. So, and this
So
is
you're
something.
30. Hmm.
this is something we were talking about before we were recording. Like, so yeah, go ahead and
So if you're 36 years old,
mhm.
when you open Written in Your Stars, you're gonna find a timeline. This is the electronic version of the book, of course. That's why it was kind of given to me
Yes.
before.
The colors are
And
beautiful, by the way. I just have to, sorry, I'm interrupting, but
no,
I'm
no,
just looking
no.
at the aesthetics, the colors. Well, what really cool.
Well, this publishing house has won awards for their designs.
Oh,
That's one of the reasons why I pitched to them because I'm Taurus rising and I really care about aesthetics.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
They're a priority for me. I don't put them over knowledge, but I care, you know.
Yes.
So I would say, okay, so you are 36 years old. Oh, wow. Well, first of all, you're experiencing your Jupiter return
Huh.
because here we look at 36 years old, right? And what we see is this color that's kind of like sand. I don't know.
Hmm.
And then we see that that's a return. And it's a Jupiter return. So I would ask you, did anything expand in your life this year? Did you grow or um, did you grow in a way, but was it difficult? Just because I know the astrology this year, like what did you
Yeah.
expand in your life? Did you, I don't know, have a baby? What happened? That's what I would bring up. I would also check what else is happening. And for example, in that case, because I would say, well, there's a possibility that you're also experiencing a Pluto sextile. We would have to take a look at other things, but
Yeah, and
because
for those watching, what we are saying is that Pluto in the sky would be sextiling our natal Pluto, correct? Honey?
correct, so
Yes.
that would be part of the Pluto cycle,
Hmm.
right? And in this case, well, we already know that you're having your Jupiter return, and so for example, you would go to the Jupiter
Ah, I
to the
see. Yeah.
yeah to the
Okay.
Jupiter chapter and kind of look into read what Jupiter does, the keywords, a little bit of the astronomy. I just like to always bring a teeny bit of the astronomy just to like get a feel for
Yeah.
the planet, right? And then Jupiter lowers lower vibration, higher vibration. I have another calculator that in my on my website that tells you where your Jupiter is.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And then you can figure out, right, where
Oh, this is what you were showing us earlier when you opened up the book.
exactly,
This type
yeah.
of, yeah.
So see Jupiter return. So see you can figure out when that cycle is like hitting climax. At every age, you can expect to feel abundant. And of course, you have to work with this. You can't always expect Jupiter to bring you gifts. Like you have to like
Yeah, there's also the other side of it where it goes overboard. There's no container. It shoots for whatever it's aspiring to, and this doesn't stop. And sometimes it's like sometimes when I think about Jupiter, everyone comes to a birthday party with one balloon, and then Jupiter walks in with 50. So, so whatever it's doing, it will multiply or enhance, right? So, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The when Jupiter was crossing my descendant is when I've gained the most weight in my whole life.
Ah, wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for
Yeah.
100%. So I talk about that too as well. Like
Hmm.
this is not just for prediction, but it's for you to understand where you are in cycles and how can you make the best of those cycles. And so for example, here I have harnessing strategies for harnessing your Jupiter returns, right? Um, your
Oh, you
Jupiter.
do. I see. In a sense, you're giving tips or remediations or things to help someone in that particular cycle. I could see this right now. And you're doing it for each aspect, not just the return. I'm noticing when Jupiter sextiling you Jupiter, when you have a Jupiter square. Well, that's and you have that for each for each
Yeah,
planet or
I
each?
did.
Wow.
I did that for every single
Wow.
planet. It
Yeah.
wasn't the plan, but then I realized that if I was gonna do this, I needed to do it full on. And to have a complete book for all the planets,
Hmm.
for every single aspect. And that was hard because my brain just kind of like went into overdrive, like, but I did it. And so that's my main goal for people, to have this book as your companion and knowing where you're at, and also giving practical tips. Like, I feel like astrology can be so, and I love astrology, but it can be so technical or it can be so philosophical, and then you don't know what to do with it, right?
Right. No, yeah,
Like,
that's the big disconnect at times. You can take in the information and see it, but then it's like, well, what does this mean? And what do I do with all of it? The application
exactly.
of it, so one feels connected to what's happening with planetary energies, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Yeah, so I bring very practical tips, like for example, if you're having your Jupiter opposition, watch out with excess. Excess is like Jupiter can expand a bad thing 100%.
Yeah.
Your waste, your greed, And then so yes, for every single aspect, I add what happens, what can you expect, how to harness it, how to manage it. I share some of my stories and some of them that are not as great,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
for
The real deal, the
example,
reality. Yeah.
the reality, like me getting overly excited about things and then tanking after that 100%. And I share um, for every single planet a Jupiter story. Well, I'm
Oh,
sorry, as a story, either mine or a family member or a client. Um, for example, here I share a Jupiter cycle story from Tanas, one of my colleagues, um, and or a Chiron story or a Saturn story, because I came into this world during my mom's Saturn square.
oh, Saturn Square.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious, which square was it? Was it before the full Saturn return or the one after?
It
Like
was one before. My mom had me at 20. It was the one before. Yeah.
one before, yeah.
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 And
So
so I
we're
came
talking
into,
early 20s here.
yeah,
Yeah, right?
21
Yeah,
actually.
21, 22. So for those watching and trying to understand how we're calculating this, it's the square before the return that happens between 27 and 29 years old, since we're talking cycles. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's part of the story, right? Part of
Uh-huh.
her Saturn story. My mother
Right.
uh, has a difficult Saturn. So I came into this world when she was 21 during
Mhm.
her Saturn square. Hmm.
I have a lot of clients I get where they're having their first child or something like that during their Saturn return, which means their child, whenever their child is going to have their Saturn return, they have the same Saturn
Right.
placement. See this all the time. And they carry that. They both have that story together. So yeah, Saturn's always fascinating
Fascinating.
to me. I love Saturn stories. So, but I like, by the way, you've been scrolling here, the Saturn color you had that was like an earthy sand, and then here this Chiron. I like the color changes that you have here. Sorry, I'm Taurus rising, I'm Venus rule too, so I'm gonna notice what my
Oh, no,
senses
no.
are telling me here. So, yeah.
No, thank you for noticing, because every single planet has a designated color by me, because I'm really into colors. And whenever I see a
Oh,
color that doesn't match the planet, I'm just like, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
Of course, Uranus has this electric blue.
yeah. I dig it.
Uranus is my favorite planet, by the way.
Oh
So,
wow, that's I think you're the first person that ever you know me. We know a lot of astrology. We know a lot of people. I've never heard somebody say that. That's my favorite. Nice.
well, I have Sun conjunct Uranus in Scorpio.
Well,
Yeah.
you I get it now. Plus you have no choice.
I have no choice, man.
I got no choice.
And
Yeah.
but Chiron, I don't know, it's between Chiron and Uranus, but it's the magic is there,
You know what's interesting is we're filming this. I could say it. We're recording this on May 15th, it's within days here, we're going to do is Sun Uranus conjunction in Taurus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. Changed
Another
my life,
sun.
by the way. That whole transit, it's like, but anyway, so yeah, I
Oh,
guess
look at that. Yeah.
that's where the magic is.
Hmm.
Um, I am a very visual person, and so I need visuals to understand things. Apparently, I only told my publisher that I was going to do a few visuals, and then I sent 5 times more.
Yeah.
So that it wasn't possible to add all of them, but I really needed people to see this, for example, the orbit of Chiron, because
Yeah.
Chiron is incredibly important in my opinion.
Yeah, and I see how also too from the visual aspect, if I pretend I don't know things and I'm looking, I'm also seeing certain cycles overlap each other from different planets here. I'm seeing like how Chiron crosses Saturn. Am I correct here?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so yeah, interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, that's why, Barbara Handclough, one of my favorite astrologers, calls it the Rainbow Bridge.
Yes. Saturn is one part of the bridge and the other is in the sense Uranus and Chiron's in between. Am I correct by saying this?
Yeah, it's in
Yeah.
between, and
Yeah.
and it's a centaur, and it's
Mhm.
just this whole like crazy. And as we come closer, not to get completely off topic, but because if you get me talking about Chiron, whoa, whoa, I'm like, literally, we're gonna be here for 3 hours. But as we get closer to Chiron's, our humanity's own Chiron return, because Chiron was discovered when Chiron was in Taurus, in 1977. As we get closer to our Chiron return, to humanity's Chiron return, because it's going to be a full circle since we discovered Chiron. Chiron is becoming more and more and more important in our lives. That's why every healing is a big thing, and
Yeah.
alternative medicine. And anyway, so Chiron added a whole level of complexity to this book.
No, it's good. It's good actually because I feel too, someone who knows a lot about astrology books and what's out there, also too the discovery of Chiron, it's new in astrological history in a sense. Yeah, I know many of the books here, but I think that our understanding and the meaning we find with Chiron, it's still expanding. I think it's uncharted territory in a lot of ways. And so I think, this is good that you have this in the book. And sometimes it's elusive, the information about Chiron sometimes. I talk to clients sometimes. They're like, I read this and that, but I still don't get it. I still don't feel connected. I still don't have like, as in compared to say, some of the traditional planets. So, I'm really glad that you have this here. And let me point something else out too. People are watching, that I'm noticing here. In a sense, you have the astrology of Chiron, but you have the astronomy
Yeah.
of Chiron. And this goes back to what you said earlier, that in part of this book, you're also talking about the basic astronomy of things, which is really, I like this. Just so people can not only understand the visual component, but the actual, um, you have like when it was discovered and why it's called a centaur and where it is, from the astronomical view. So I think that's really cool. Um, I
Thank you.
didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know this. Sorry. I'm reading this. It says it is this dual nature, half asteroid, half comet that inspired astronomer Charles Kowal to name Chiron. See, I didn't even know who named it. By the way, I'm not just making this up. People watching, I didn't know that person named Chiron. Hmm.
Yeah, so because you'll see a lot of it on an internet they call Chiron asteroid, and not to say that they were wrong, but they didn't know where to put it. When something's so massively different, people are like, "Oh, let's put it in the asteroid section because there's nothing else."
Yeah.
But the reality is that it's half and half, half man, half horse, but it's also half asteroid, half comet. And so because of Chiron, there's a whole new planet, like a whole new group of planetary bodies called centaurs.
Yeah, I learned about this, by the way, several years ago. I was at the Lowell Observatory, which is an amazing place. It's in Flagstaff, Arizona. Is anybody watching? If you're in northern Arizona, like you're going to go to the Grand Canyon, you're going to go to Sedona. go stop at the Flagstaff because I happened to go for a free lecture to happen to deal with they mentioned the centaurs and they mentioned Chiron. And that's when I started to understand how it was in between and what it does. And it's so interesting scientifically what it when we deal with cold and ice and warmth. I won't get into that, but it's reminding me of the Lowell Observatory, which, by the way, is the place that's the observatory where Pluto was discovered. By the way,
Mm.
yeah,
Thank you for saying that because I am going to Sedona this summer to a meditation, well, slash UFO sighting slash meditation retreat.
yeah.
Um, and I will go.
Oh,
And
go there, because they just finished building this huge new addition. You're Since you're a visual astrologer, since we're talking about the astronomy of things and you're a visual astrologer, and I know we talked about this too because I could say this, I don't think you're going to mind, but you're an eclipse chaser and you do these things. You're gonna love it up there. You're gonna lose your mind. You go look at the small observatory and the walk to where Pluto was discovered. There's
oh
an
my
actual
God.
tour they do every day for that one, and your mind's gonna be blown. You're gonna see. So. By
No,
the
thank
way,
you
can you
for
go
saying
to
that.
Pluto? Can you show me? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
of
I'm just
course.
curious
Yeah.
about,
I love Pluto too because I'm a Scorpio.
yeah. Oh, I'm
Um,
all Pluto. Oh yeah. I like
anyway,
it.
just passing through Chiron, this is just crazy, by the way. Like, look at that. Look at the range.
Yeah, yep.
So 36, I would tell you, well, you're in between,
Yeah. I'm
right?
doing the return.
Well, the return is at 50.
Yeah, I'm dating myself right now, but that's what I'm doing right now. So,
Yeah, I would say the Chiron return is the most important return ever, honestly. And you were talking about how like hot and cold. Well, that's how healing is. It's hot and cold.
yeah, no, that's a great insight, Nariana. Yeah, exactly. No.
That's how
Also with
healing
healing
is.
crisis, when you go to doctors or therapists who are working with your body and stuff, they talk about healing crisis. So if you're coming out of injury and trauma and you're on your way to healing, you're taking two steps forward, but you're taking another step back. So they tell you in healing crisis, you're not just going to constantly heal. There's going to be times when you feel good, and there's going to be times when you go backwards, it seems. But that's what the body does. It's kind of a hot cold thing.
It's
So
hot and cold.
yeah.
So see, that's why I always like lighting, like shining light on the astronomy because that's going to be how we feel it. So healing isn't easy and it's a layered process.
Hmm.
Well, hot and cold. So this is the Pluto, which was demoted, as we know, for the reason that its orbit isn't like the orbit of a planet.
Sure. Yeah.
And for that reason, we all get, not everybody gets the same, their Chiron square or Chiron sextile at the same age. My generation is one of the generations that got it really early because I was born with, I'm from the Pluto in Libra generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I already experienced my Chiron square. Um, it was intense, but it was necessary, I gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for
I
example, sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
The babies that are born now, they're gonna experience, and that's why I also thought about writing this book, right? Like, what if somebody that was born with Pluto in late degrees of Capricorn or Pluto in Aquarius, well, they're gonna have their square much older.
Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that this book was gonna be like accessible to everybody from because by the way, that timeline we saw, it's from 7 to 90 years old.
Right. No, that's good. God, I love that timeline, by the way. I just love that. Yeah. Because just anybody could just open the book, just go boom. So,
Yeah,
um,
I mean, I'm happy to share this with you. Like, you can just take a screenshot of it and just have it on your computer and just open it every time you have a reading with someone.
yeah.
Because I also made this book for astrologers or astrology enthusiasts, like people who really want to learn. And so what this illustration shows is like how it works.
Yeah.
I had a really good guinea pig. My husband's dad. And he's just crazy. Like his astrology is so crazy because he had one of the most incredible things happen to him in his Uranus return. He got married.
Real, okay,
Yes.
yeah, Uranus return.
Yes.
Now we're
Yes.
talking early
84
80s.
years old.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
married.
Mm-hmm. And so his story is here actually because I just felt like it was so. I want to also inspire people to think outside of preconditioning, of societal preconditioning here, because people think that, oh, you turn 7, then life is over. I'm like, oh no, the most exciting return you can have is like Uranus return at 84 years old, right? And so, but anyway, I had a good guinea pig, which was like my husband's
Yeah.
father, who is approaching, his late 80s now. And the way that his chart was configured is that he also experiencing a um, Pluto, he's here. And at the
Oh,
same
okay.
time
The
as he's
Pluto opposition.
the Pluto opposition,
Yeah.
and I think he's also experiencing the Neptune opposition at the same time. So
Wow.
it's like
And
crazy.
yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny you're mentioning this because I have had some clients in the last several years over 70 and getting to that where they've come to me with the questions a 30-some-year-old would have or whatever, which was one of the most common questions, like, is this person the one? It's just like, I really like this person. What do you think? And for me, most, like you said, more societal thing, most people don't think that way. They're like, somebody's in their 70s or even 80s, like, why would they even be thinking about dating somebody? Or, if this is the one or love and all that, but it's there. You just don't hear people talking about it or it's just not presented. So I'm glad that you said that, and one of your examples is a story like this, because
Mhm.
it's the real deal. It's no joke.
It's yeah, it's
People,
real.
your
And
body might be changing, but like what your heart and mind do and want, it doesn't. Yeah. So
sorry, I just want to go over it because
sure.
I am also part of that story. I didn't totally like put it in here, but just long story short, he came to me and he said he wanted to date, and I told him he needed to go. This is all Uranus, that's why I'm bringing it up. I
Hmm.
said you need to go online, and he said I would never do
Yeah.
that. I would never do that.
Right.
You have an older man, right, saying that I would never do that. I was like, well, you're out of luck because you already know everybody. You already in your circles, like big art guy. You already know the women in the circles, and you already know that that's not going anywhere, right? So you got to go online, man. He
Hmm.
did, and that's how he met his current wife. But he's a workaholic. He has Jupiter in Capricorn.
Hmm.
So the guy would not retire. The only thing that got him to retire was that his wife wanted him home, his new wife, his third one, by the way. And so that's the story. He was liberated from his job,
You're right. That's
as
funny.
as he was getting ready. He sold his company. He was like, he basically was the wife or the job,
Right, right.
and he went for the wife.
That's wild.
It's wild, right?
That's
It's
wild. And that's
sure.
also a societal thing too, especially some of these generation from a gender perspective or from who brings the money home to who's this role and who's that role, right? It's just like how things switch. So yeah. No, I'm
Right.
psyched, Nariana, for you. Uh when, by the way, I should say that we should not forget this. When's this book happening? When's it coming out?
Yes, of course. It is coming out on July 8th.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hey, you mind going to big screen again?
Of
Uh,
course.
yeah.
Oh, actually, do you mind just if you show you something else real
Yeah, yeah,
quick?
go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
Because anyway, just this was kind of a little bit difficult to create. So I
Oh,
wanted to
yeah.
say that there's also a calculator that I created. Why don't we do a test? Nicholas.
A test? No, no, no. We're not putting my birth time in there. I
Okay,
have
okay,
to.
okay.
Some people know it, but I have to leave it a secret on this channel because that's the way I am. And
Totally,
there's
100%.
there's people who are still trying to figure that out, and they have to do it the hard way.
Right. So we will do
Here, I'll give you one. I
okay.
won't tell you who this is, okay?
Okay.
Let me see if I'm gonna, people will be they'll wait for us here. Let me see. It kind of goes into what we were might have just been talking about. It's a weird. All right, you ready?
Hmm.
September 8th.
So
We'll
we'll
just
put this
put
person X.
yeah, we'll put X, okay? So we'll do September 8th, 1941.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll just say I don't know if this is not the most approved birth time. It isn't really, but let's say 6 a.m. Eastern, Brooklyn Heights, which is Brooklyn, New York. So
Okay. So we're doing this the calculator.
yeah, and this is on your website, by the way. I say naramon.com, naramon.com/ written in your stars. I'll put that link in the copy, in the YouTube copy and all that. But
Yes, thank you.
uh-huh.
Let's see.
Oh, and it's finding things for you. Yeah, I think Brooklyn, New York is pretty much it. Like,
This is what just gets a little tricky, but Brooklyn.
yeah, you got it right. Oh, it's interesting because you have on here the other fields underneath. It says, oh, did we just do it?
Yes, but
Oh, you can add details. Okay, I
what
see.
yeah, what did you want to know? Because, for example, did you want the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter,
Uranus,
Uranus? Okay.
since we were just talking about that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is even funny, right? Because you know how people are born with the retrograde sometimes?
Uh-huh.
It'll mark if they get it when they're babies. But anyway, that doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Here is the sextile, the square, the trine, the opposition.
Okay, so basically the person was born in 1942 and we're looking at this. So you enter in, we picked a planet, you enter it in, and it's giving all the Uranus positions or aspects in a person's life, in a sense, like the basics here. So we know in 1981, there was this person had a Uranus opposition. They started that cycle. And we get to here, I'm looking at this Uranus return date that
Mhm.
says June 5th, 2025, right?
It
Which is,
starts, yeah, it
yeah.
starts then.
Hmm.
I worked with the orbs, by the way. That was difficult because as you know, the orbs are different for all the planets. You know,
Yeah.
like for
Hmm.
for these planets, a 2-degree orb. Um, when because of the retrograde, when of the three exact activations, and you know, every time you're having a reading with someone, the question is, when is this going to end?
Yeah, right. And you're usually, and I'm looking and giving him the cycle and the chapters in between when the retrograde happens, when it moves forward, when it stations direct, all that stuff. And I could see this happening here because you could see the influence exact and then the dates afterwards. I'm looking and I could see at the end. Do you want to know who this is?
Sure.
This is Bernie Sanders.
Oh, no way. I love him.
Yep, this is Bernie Sanders' chart. And because when you were talking about Uranus and the thing I know from his chart, because it was open up on my program screen, I'm like, oh, this is a good one because he's currently, you know, he's out there and he's very prominent again right now. But the biggest thing happening to him right now is this. That's what he's doing. Uranus
Wow. I
return.
love him. I love him. Unfortunately, I don't think his chart goes with the US, but anyway, that's another subject.
Yeah, no, it's I know what you're saying, but as for his positioning, I just think it's interesting. Like we're gonna put this video out in this summer that's coming up. Pretty much, you see the start of what's happening with at least from a Uranus story with Bernie here.
And
And
he's
anyway,
out
that was
there,
pretty.
you know, doing the Uranus thing.
Yeah, he's doing, it's this thing, and it's almost where like you're making me think now. I could talk about a video, someone can write an article. I might do this, if I could what was happening during Bernie's Uranus opposition per se, right? And and you can go through like what you have here on the screen. This is with anybody. Let's say if you pick Uranus or a Saturn story, you can go. And a lot of times by going through the one big cycle and how it breaks down to the aspects, you can pretty much chart a person's story, a certain Saturnian story or Pluto story, something like that. So that's what we do as astrologers. We're looking at that. And sometimes when we're forecasting out, it helps the past and knowing these influence areas like you have here on your calculator and in your book, that one can have a sense of like what the story is and kind of when the next part, in a sense, initiates itself, you know. So anyway, this is on your site and basically yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's on my
amazing.
website. So yeah, I'll stop sharing, but I just wanted to share this because, you know, I could have this closed. That's the reality. Um, but I don't. I have it open because I want to help people. You know, I could have this closed to like people who only buy the book.
Yeah,
The
right. I get
reality is that I don't want to be that astrologer. I
it.
also, just so you know, I also have a progressed moon calculator that goes with
Oh,
my,
I didn't know that. That's cool.
yeah, the moon signs calculator. It's
Oh yeah, by the way, let's stop right here. Let's go. Can you
yeah.
scroll back up because I want to just show the moon signs cover because you wrote this book you wrote when was this? Was this like 8 years? No. I was looking.
Do you remember that crazy, do you know, remember that COVID conjunction, the that conjunction in Capricorn that was
Ju-
like Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter,
Oh,
South.
yes, yes. Yeah.
That was this book deal.
Oh, okay. Right.
Because that's my midheaven. So all of a sudden, I just landed this book deal. The reality is that I wasn't trying to be an author, but it happened.
Yep. So you have this also too, a moon sign calculator also, I see.
Yeah,
Cool.
you can track your progress. It's designed to track your progress. I mean, it'll pull your natal moon sign,
Mhm.
natal moon phase, and where your progressed moon is, and what aspects your progressed moon is making.
Oh, that's great. That's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah.
People use it.
I love progressed charts and progress phases and moon just again, like a lot of what we're talking about today too, when we're dealing with cycles, you don't, if you start to understand cycles and like, someone has your book and they kind of understand like, oh, Saturn does this every 7 years and in between it does this or whatever planet that is. There's times when you're talking to people, you don't have to have your app or anything. Someone could say the age that they're at and it starts to sink in your brain. Like you go, oh, right off the bat, what they told me is,
Oh, 100%. I mean,
yeah, they're
I'm
like,
seeing it a lot, a
yeah.
lot.
You
Yeah.
just get programmed after a while and you can that's with that and even with like if someone were to tell you their big three, they say their sun and their moon, you can sit there eventually know how to calculate the moon phase that they were born in, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
100%. Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
And that's why visuals are so important because I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but me, I have photographic memory. So it's like, oh, you know,
Yeah,
that,
that's what I'm doing in my head. Sometimes people are like, "How did you do that?" I'm just like, it's not magic, but I can visualize and just move through and like and go roughly, "Oh, that's the moon phase you were born in." And they're like, and I don't divulge the secret sometimes because you got to keep a little bit of the mystery magic, but it isn't a secret, you
you
know.
just tell them, oh, I have an Aquarius moon.
Yeah. Yeah, I could say that. Yeah. Just, the stuff just downloads.
You know, it just happens.
Actually, I have a Mercury Uranus power tile is exact. I have exact trine, so I do have the download thing happen.
Oh, that's one of my favorite combinations.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just
that's one of my favorite combinations for like, you're up there.
it's constantly happening. And I don't even say it what I'm really happening most of the time. It's like there's other things that are unleashed there that on my live streams. People understand when they watch my live streams some of the things coming out, but there's other things I do not say. Like I just because they're like so intense, I can't even believe them. But it's later that they're true or they're bringing something, and I still have to dance with something like that. But anyway, that's
Gotta dance with Uranus. Have no choice.
yeah, yeah. I'm I'm so psyched for you. I'm again, the book comes out on July 8th, am I correct?
July 8th, but yes, I mean, I guess this is my cue to say that because pre-orders are so important these days.
Oh yeah.
What I created um, to entice people to get it before that is I created a 19-page manifestation guide. And I know that the word manifestation is being overly used, but I really think that because this year the astrology is just so groundbreaking, I was looking for something to inspire people to have a positive outlook on life as we create a new paradigm or a new world. Um, because I'm excited about the transit of Jupiter in Cancer that hasn't happened since 2014.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I created a guide very similar. It's actually pretty different from this. It's more like about lifestyle practices and just fun things, and of course, horoscopes and mantras and all of that about this transit because I think that it's the most positive thing. I mean, for me, that transit pretty much changed my life.
Mhm.
I don't have anything in Cancer, but I have Cancer in the third house. And that's when my husband proposed to me, actually, when the
Oh,
last Jupiter was in Cancer.
oh,
Uh,
okay. Yeah, that's
mhm.
uh-huh.
And I was telling you before this that I especially like, even though Jupiter is going to square the Saturn Neptune conjunction at the beginning, I do think that I mean, in my work, I've noticed that exalted planets really take over. Um, and Pluto
I
is no longer in Capricorn. So
Yeah, I agree.
I'm
I
here to
agree
feel
because
this.
we're basically dealing with the third Jupiter Saturn square here, like within the year. But the last one that we're going to do here in June is different because it's not in Gemini and Pisces, right? We're doing
Mm.
cardinal, and I think what you mentioned is Jupiter being, in an exalted place, a place where it has say and flow. That I think, as with anything Jupiter. I think in the end, it's the reason why Saturn is after Jupiter in the solar system because I think Saturn has to crystallize the vision and the aspirations of Jupiter, and it actually needs a container and structure and boundaries for the vision to become reality. And it's the way to work with those two planets. So yeah, by square it is that, but this one's a little different. And I agree with you on the Jupiter Cancer itself and what it means and all that. And so, yeah, again, the timing's interesting because your book is pretty much publishing within 24 hours of the Jupiter ingress in the Cancer, since you mentioned the date. Um,
No, I think that's no, because Jupiter
oh no,
and
no, no, I am wrong. You're right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
Jupiter
thinking
enters
your
Cancer
July
on June
8th is when
the 8th.
it's June
Yeah.
9th that Jupiter goes in.
Yeah, no, but I think
Correct.
what you're tapping into is
Yes.
Uranus going into
I'm
Gemini the day
Yeah,
before.
no, that's what it is. I see I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm a
I mean,
Gemini,
there's
so I'm
so
like,
much this year. It's like, what? It's
no,
like,
you're it's funny as astrologers if we're writing forecasts and doing stuff like the way the transits are happening where planetary bodies are moving forward and going back. So there's this dance that's happening this year and like so from the technical of remembering dates and retrogrades to like the bigger like intuitive knowledge of it all, it's a fascinating year. But, me being a Gemini, yeah, I was thinking more Uranus.
yeah, no, but you know what? I love that what you just said because it helped me realize of what the whole cycle of Uranus is for me. Because when Uranus entered Taurus, that's when I stepped into I mean, I've been doing astrology full time since 2011.
Mhm.
That's the story. But I'm Taurus rising, when Uranus entered Taurus, that's when I stepped into my role as professional astrologer, like having readings and all of that, right? So it's been that journey. Then it was the Akashic records and Egyptian cosmology and just getting all super crazy during my Uranus opposition. And then as Uranus leaves Taurus, this gets published.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
again, you just gave an example of like how we look at cycles and what happens, in your story there. By the way, me too. I mean, 2018 Uranus hit my ascendant or my first house. I have a different, my story's different, but like what happened to me professionally and what things I would never thought I would do or even think of are coming in, have come in a Uranian way and it changed everything for good, and it's again, uh, it's funny, Uranus keeps coming up in this conversation with you and I in the book and everything. So, but
I'm
yeah, no,
telling you, man, I'm telling you, it's something with that planet that
yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. I'm really psyched for you. Knowing you for a little bit here and talking over time and stuff. Sometimes we've seen it at conferences or just, just quick checking in. But I know you put in a lot of hard work here to get this done in the book, and it looks fabulous, my friend. I think it's
thank
do
you.
really
Thank you.
well.
My,
So,
my my baby, it's like I really, like the first book, it just happened to me, with all those transits. It just came to me and I took it. But this book, I really, not that I don't love my first book, of course I do, but this book is really special to me because like I was telling you before, I had kind of given up on it. I felt like I'm really grateful for my publisher because people just didn't get what I was trying to do.
mhm.
I had called the book Cosmic Rites of Passage originally. So they're like, what's that? Like, what's that? What does that mean? And I was like, a rite of passage, like when you like experience a transformation. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this is a better title, but
Yeah, and I understand, from you're trying to find the balance between things too, because in a lot of sense too, if I'm walking into a bookstore, which I'm here in Portland, so Powell's is here. It's one of the biggest bookstores in the world. It's incredible in there. Someone's walking past and they're in the one section up in Powell's where all the tarot and astrology books are, and they showcase them up there. They're really good with it. But I'm walking past and I see those words and the art on the cover. You know, it's funny what a lot of people what attracts them or what makes them walk towards to open a certain type of door or open up a book. So, I can understand from the business perspective and everything else, you kind of have to balance things.
yeah, 100%.
When
Yeah.
it's totally get it. It's, but again, you in the front of your book written in your stars, and then you say underneath is use your Saturn return, Pluto square, and other planetary cycles to become your best self. I think that's nice the way of the entry for someone and go, oh, okay, I'm gonna check this out. So yeah, and really cool artwork. I dig it. Before I go here, I want to know if let me see something here. I was going to share the front of the book. Do you have it? Do you want to share really quick? I have it
Yeah.
on the, yeah. Is that cool?
And yeah, of course. And
Yeah.
then thank you so much, seriously, for this to
Yeah.
give
No.
me
Yeah.
this space to talk about my baby because the reality is that um I really enjoy this is probably my favorite thing to do. I really enjoy the process of creating a book, as stressful as back and forth, as like negotiating with business people, with artists, with um I mean
Yeah.
it takes a village,
Yeah.
but I figured that that is my favorite thing to do, actually. So thank you for giving me the space to talk about this.
Yeah, no, no problem, my friend. It's I kind of rarely bring people on my channel. I want to do more of this, but this just seemed to flow when we were talking. And again, we've known each other for a long time. I'm just really psyched for you. I'm really psyched when it comes out. If people know on this channel, I really like books. Like I have my addiction, so I can't wait that you should touch it and do it. And again, the
You're
colors.
gonna
So,
get yours pretty soon. You're
oh.
gonna get yours pretty soon.
That's sweet, my friend.
I'm working on it.
No, that's cool. I was gonna get it anyway. Listen, anybody watching out there, I'm gonna have all the information here in the copy. Just look down below here in the channel. We're gonna have the links for you and stuff. I just wanted to show this one more time before we go back to the both of us, because at this cover I saw the planets and the constellational thing that you had. It was
Hmm.
really cool. It's kind of like I see the sneakiness, the subtlety in the background there. You had each planet and then like just the moon phases. Yeah, really well done. Really cool.
And I gotta give them credit because first of all, for trusting in me, but I'm really picky. Like for example, there were two Saturns. So I'm like,
Right.
there's only one Saturn.
There's
Can
only
you take
one.
one away?
Yeah.
Or like, for example. I'm a feminist, so they would put Mars on top of Venus. I'm like, nope, let's turn them around, and
Right.
Mercury is in the middle.
It's the real deal, the subtle parts. Yeah, I love
It's
it. I love
these
it.
little things, and they like totally listened to me, like totally made those changes, and like the colors, and so I really appreciate that because you don't always get that as
Yeah,
well.
and the publisher is, am I correct by saying it's Fairwinds Press?
It
Or
is Quarto with Fairwinds Press. Yes.
okay, the Quattro Group with Fairwinds Press. A release
Yeah.
date is July 8th. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. You're the best, and I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, yeah. And again, everybody who's watching the channel, where can they find your website? What's the name of your website URLs?
It's naramon.com, Naramon,
Mm-hmm.
and
IG
Narayana Montúfar. So everything's linked on my
on the
website.
website. Okay.
Uh, and I have my threads and all of that. And I have all those calculators. You can pull your birth chart for free and not use all those lists in the apps and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's great.
You can pull your progressed moon. You can pull your cycles there for free. And so, yay, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
no, again, congratulations, my friend. Yeah, for anybody watching, you can see all the info in the copy. Hope to see you soon out there in internet land. And you, Nadiana, hopefully we see each other soon, okay?
I know. I hope we do.
All right. See ya.
Bye.